Now let's continue with this shape, but let's just resize it a little bit from the bottom right handle. And let's also go to the Object menu and choose Convert Shape Rectangle. We'll lose the rounded corners for now. But the next thing that we want to explore is how to customize shapes. We've learned how to draw them, but let's find ways that these shapes can interact to create new shapes. So, with this object selected, hold down the Alt key on Windows or the Option key on the Mac. Press and hold that keyboard modifier. You will notice that your cursor changes to 2 arrows indicating that we're going to copy this object. We're going to make a duplicate of it. So just click and drag that out diagonally. So now we have 2 of them. Shift click the first one. Make sure they're both selected, or you could just click and drag around both shapes. We want to make sure that we have both of them selected. And it's kind of annoying me that my shapes are over here in the margin. So I'm just going to scroll this over just a little bit and move these over so they're not interacting with the margins there. And I'll also go ahead and close my swatches panel. Now the panel that I'm going to open, up under the window menu, choose Object and Layout, and open Pathfinder. There are lots of options in here. We'll try to run through them all as appropriate. Notice that you do have several options here to convert shape. These correspond to the menu commands that we've looked at already, but what we want to focus on now is specifically the Pathfinder operators. This first one is Add. This should be pretty intuitive, but let's see what happens. With 2 shapes selected, I click Add, and they essentially become one shape, but with a little bit of an irregular corner here, essentially a combination. So let's undo that. Control Z on Windows, Command Z on the Mac. The next one is Subtract. So this will take the frontmost object and basically use it as a punch, and it will punch out from the backmost object. So one click, and now that part is missing. So let's undo that again. And now we're going to do intersection. So only here in the middle, where these 2 shapes overlap, that's what we'll get. That'll be our intersection, and that's what's left. So some basic math operators going on here. Go ahead and undo that as well. We just have a couple of more items to look at. One is exclude overlap. So which parts aren't overlapping? Well, those parts. So there's that part of the shape. There's that part of the shape. It's starting to look like stained glass. So almost done. Undo that one more time. And the last one here is a variation on a theme. That is minus back. And the tooltip explains it to us. This subtracts the backmost objects from the frontmost objects. Kind of a reverse cutout there. Let's undo that one more time, and we're going to do something a little bit different this time. That is, what if 2 objects are being worked on together as a Pathfinder operation, but they have different attributes? For example, let's take this top object, open up the swatches panel just for a moment, and change its color. I accidentally changed just the stroke color there. Let's go ahead and set that back to black. Make sure we have the fill attribute selected. We'll cover this in more detail in a future lesson related to color. But with the fill swatch selected, now change that front color to blue. Now, if we take these 2 objects and try to add them together using the Pathfinder, which color will win? This is like rock, paper, scissors. Let's go ahead and try it and see the result. The front color wins. Did you see that? We'll undo that. The blue here is in front of the blue in back. When we add them together, the front color wins. This is the case whether we have 2 or even multiple objects working with Pathfinder. Now, a couple of other things you can do related to joining shapes. Let's select this one object here for just a moment. We'll go up to the Object menu and look at corner options. Let's turn on Preview. And right now we have no corner effect, but we can have fancy corners and beveled corners, insets, inverse rounded, and rounded corners. So I'm actually going to use this rounded corner option. This is as if I had converted it to a rounded rectangle, but I'll choose the corner option instead and click OK. Now what we're going to do is we're going to align these 2 objects. Just do your best to line them up there and select both of them. And now back in the Pathfinder panel here, click the Add option. This will combine these 2 shapes. Remember, the dark blue will win. One click, and effectively what we've created here is a little tabbed frame. Folks ask this question a lot of times about InDesign. How do I get kind of a tab effect that I want to put a graphic in? There you go. Take two rectangles, one with rounded corners, one without, stack them on top of each other, and add them together with the Pathfinder commands.